Okay, everybody here? Excellent. All right. Well, very happy to be here at the Wagner houses as we start on a major set of initiatives to help residents of public housing to make their lives better, to make their lives safer. The New York City Housing Authority has 334 housing developments like this all across the city, housing over 400,000 New Yorkers. And developments like Wagner are a bedrock of affordable housing for hard-working New Yorkers. They play a critical role in the city, have for generations, and especially today as housing affordability is such a crucial concern in this city. Our housing authority is more important than ever. But too often, our housing authority has not gotten the attention or the support that it deserves. And that has been particularly true at the federal level. We've suffered from decades now of federal disinvestment in affordable housing, and particularly in public housing. But that means that for all of us here in New York City, we have to redouble our efforts to support the residents of NYCHA, to make sure, despite federal neglect, that we're doing the best we can to shore up and strengthen the housing authority. I came into office with a commitment to improving the experience for NYCHA residents overall and to improving safety in particular. This has been a priority of the administration. As I've said, we take responsibility for NYCHA at City Hall. That's something that is a hallmark of this administration. We started by giving NYCHA over $120 million in budgetary relief, both in last year's budget and now in the new budget for this fiscal year just started. For years and years, NYCHA was paying separately for policing services. We've changed that. And the result has been over $120 million that went back into NYCHA's coffers so that major repairs and improvements can be made that will improve the everyday life of residents. This was a first step forward. Today we're going to talk about a major set of additional investments in NYCHA that will be about improving safety and improving the quality of life for residents. And we're going to focus on some of the developments that need the help the most. These additional investments we're announcing today, in combination with the previous investments, will add up to a total of $210 million being devoted in new resources for NYCHA to make life in NYCHA developments better. Before we get into the details, I want to thank so many of the leaders who are here with us. I'm going to do my best to name everyone, and if I miss anyone, especially among our elected official friends, please raise your hands, don't be shy. But let me first thank the community leaders and residents of the Wagner houses who have done so much through thick and thin to make this a great place to live. And a particular thank you to the president, the dynamic president of the Wagner Residents Association, Katie Harris. I want to thank all the members of my administration who are with us today. All of them are playing a crucial role in our efforts to improve the quality of life for residents of the Housing Authority. Of course, the chair and CEO of NYCHA, Shola Olatoye, the general manager, Cecil House, the chief of housing for the NYPD, Carlos Gomez. Want to thank so many members of the administration who have focused on bringing all the pieces of this administration together to focus on the safety needs of NYCHA residents, and that effort's been led by my director of the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, Liz Glazer. I want to thank her for her extraordinary efforts. And all the other key players who have been a part of this work, Rose Pierre Louis, our Commissioner for the Mayor's Office to Combat Domestic Violence, Bill Chong, Commissioner for the Department of Youth and Community Development, which runs all the youth recreation programs, Marco Carrion, the head of the Community Affairs Unit of the Mayor's Office, Rachel Nordlinger, Chief of Staff to the First Lady, who's been deeply involved, Dean Foulahan, our Budget Director, always applaud the Budget Director, and Emma Wolf, our Director of Intergovernmental Affairs. All of them together have been focused on improving life for NYCHA residents. Let me thank some of the luminaries who are with us. You're going to hear from the folks standing with me, but let me also thank Borough President of Manhattan, Gail Brewer, the Borough President of the Bronx, Ruben Diaz Jr., State Senators Gustavo Rivera, Bill Perkins, and Jose Serrano, Jr. Assembly members Carmen Arroyo, Karine Camara, and Robert Rodriguez. Oh. And Luis Sepulveda. I know Luis was outside. Luis Sepulveda from the Bronx. Where's Luis? Luis, I'm doing the X sign for you, okay? Just for you. Council members, obviously we are in Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito's council district. And council members, I see Council Member Vanessa Gibson, the chair of the Public Safety Committee. And Richie Torres, is Richie Torres here? Chair of the Public Housing Committee. Have I missed anyone? Inez Dickens, Councilmember Inez Dickens. And Deputy Borough President of Brooklyn, Diana Reyna. Yes. Yes, and, wait, that's coming up. I have so many acknowledgement lists. Here, the District Attorney of Manhattan has been a great partner in our crime-fighting efforts, Cy Vance. Are there any other district attorneys here? Okay. Are there any other elected officials I've missed? Jamani Williams. Jamani Williams. Where are you, Jamani? Oh, way in the back. Shy and retiring Jamani Williams. Jamani Williams, who has done so much to focus on gun violence, and thank you for all your efforts that made a big role in this budget. So the word today is investment. We are making investments in our public housing. Investments that should have been made long ago, but we're making them now. No time like the present. And we believe that the challenges facing public housing need to be addressed aggressively. You know the phrase, he who hesitates is lost? We are not interested in hesitation here. The needs of public housing residents are real, they're now, they have to be addressed now. So these investments are going to start to make an impact right now. There's some pieces that will phase in over months, and there's some that will start to happen literally this week and in the next few weeks, and we'll go over that. We're going to be, right after this press conference, sitting down with Katie Harris and other leaders of the Wagner houses to hear firsthand from them what they're experiencing, what they need, what they advise. This is something that Shola has been leading efforts all over the city to meet with public housing residents and leaders and go through our vision, our plans, hear from them what they need, what adjustments we need to make. One of the most important things we have to do to make public housing better and stronger and safer is deeper engagement with the people who live in public housing. But resources matter too. And today, on top of the $122 million that we put back into NYCHA's budget, that should not have been taken out of NYCHA's budget for police, we are adding $87 million more in specific programs to reduce violence in NYCHA developments. The combined allocation now will top $210 million. And all of this is the kind of investment that will have real and immediate impact. The repairs for people's apartments, particularly the health and safety repairs, and the investments in public safety starting now. We're going to focus on, with our public safety investments, on 15 developments that have been particularly challenged. 15 developments that have had some of the toughest trends in terms of violent crime over the last few years, some in particularly having experienced difficulties in the last few months. Now, these 15 developments, and Wagner is one of them, these 15 developments combined account for nearly 20% of all violent crime in all of public housing in New York City. That's why we're drilling down and we're focusing on them. So let me again put that in perspective. 334 housing developments in NYCHA citywide, 334. And yet 15 of those developments account for almost 20% of the violent crime in all of public housing citywide. That's why you're going to see a super focused effort on these 15. And we're bringing in every conceivable type of resources, 10 city agencies, a host of community groups and nonprofits, and again, tenant leadership, resident leadership as a crucial part of the solution. What does this mean? Well, you're going to hear from Shola and from Chief Gomez some of the details, but let me give you some of the overview. One of the biggest things we're going to act on is safety lighting. there are too many parts of developments that are not in the nighttime hours safe to residents, in part because they're not well lit. Now, we're already adding a lot of resources in terms of NYPD presence. But as Chief Gomez will tell you, the officers depend on being able to see what's going on. They know a well-lit environment creates an atmosphere of safety. It makes it harder for those who are doing the wrong thing to go about that. It makes it easier for law-abiding citizens to have a better experience. So safety lighting will be put in, some immediate lighting, and we're moving into permanent lighting with some of the resources we work together with the City Council on. What this means for these 15 developments is right now, starting right now, 150 light towers will be put in place for this summer, spread across those 15 developments. 150 light towers to light up the areas that have previously been obscure and problematic and make it easier for the NYPD to do its job. We're also making a huge effort to remove the sidewalk sheds. Yes. All that scaffolding that unfortunately made it easier for the criminal element. Obviously, the effort is ongoing to install the previously allocated money, the previously allocated security cameras. That is moving. We have a commitment to put all those cameras, $27 million worth in 49 developments by the end of this year. Additional cameras will be coming behind that. Of course, most importantly, more cops on the beat in NYCHA. These pieces together will make such a big impact on safety in public housing, and particularly in these 15 target developments. There's one other thing I want to mention because it's very personal to me, which is what we need to do to reach our young people and how we have to protect them, how we have to give them every opportunity to go on the right path, how we have to discourage the wrong path. It's all out there around us. Every one of us who is a parent, and I'm a parent of 2 teenagers, we know in particularly modern society, in the internet world, et cetera, lots of challenges, lots of negatives out there surrounding our young people. But when we give young people positive alternatives, they take them, by and large. Not every single young person, but the vast majority will choose a positive path. Here's the contradiction. For too many years as a society, we've said to young people, choose a positive path, but then we haven't made it available to them. We say, do the right thing, go someplace safe, do something wholesome and positive, but then there's no place to go. So we're focused in this plan. I want to give, again, Liz Glazer a lot of credit for having highlighted this piece in the plan that was put together. We're focused on more opportunities for young people to have recreation throughout the week, on the weekend, and late into the evening. Young people in these 15 developments need a positive, safe place to go. We're going to make sure they have that place, and that's going to make a big difference in their lives. So this is happening literally right now. It started happening yesterday. This is a right now thing. So 107 community centers at NYCHA developments across the city will remain open till at least 11 p.m. during the summer months. At least 11 p.m. 107 sites across the city. Tens of thousands of young people will have the opportunity to take advantage of them. We're also expanding summer youth employment to target 850 young people additionally in these 15 developments. For those 850 kids, it'll be a life-changing experience. So much is going on here that's going to fundamentally improve safety in NYCHA. You're going to hear in a moment from the elected officials who have led the way on fighting for our NYCHA residents. You're going to hear from Chair Olatoye, the extraordinary efforts that she and the General Manager Cecil House have undertaken. You're going to hear from Chief Gomez, and you're going to hear a picture coming together of a lot of pieces working in harmony to really uplift the residents of these 15 developments and particularly to reach our young people. Before I call up Speaker Mark Viverito and Public Advocate Tish James, let me just say a couple of sentences in Spanish, and then the Speaker will say them better in her own Spanish. Hoy estamos anunciando un plan integral para reducir la violencia en los edificios de vivienda pública. El plan incluye más fondos para aumentar la presencia policial, mejoras físicas en los edificios y más programas educativos y de empleo. With that, I want to tell you we have had a partner in this work. Everything I talked about in that $210 million of investments we're making and the $87 million of it that we're talking about for the first time today, every part of that required support and buy-in from the City Council and from the Speaker of the City Council. In fact, in many cases, she was the one that said, we need to go farther. We need to focus more on the security needs of NYCHA, and she pushed us to dig deeper, and she found support from her members and organized support from her members to make sure this was a crucial priority of the City Council. So if you like what you hear today, a lot of the credit goes to Speaker Melissa Mark-Viverito. It's an honor to be here in her district. And, hold on, we welcome you with the ceremonial step. Madam Speaker.
Buenas tardes a todos y bienvenidos. Good afternoon, everybody, and to welcome everybody. It's really great to be here amongst friends and family. It's great to see Ms. Harris and to see John Johnson from the Bronx part of my district, a leader in public housing as well, and all the members of the administration that the mayor has indicated are here with our public advocate. So this is a great day for New Yorkers who live in public housing. This is a good day because we're no longer taking a short-term approach to a vexing challenge. We're not putting a Band-Aid on and calling it a day. What we're doing is tackling a problem head-on with both immediate and long-term solutions. This multi-pronged plan laid out by Mayor de Blasio, Commissioner Bratton as well, Director Glazer, NYCHA, and all those involved, is doing a lot of good for New Yorkers. This plan is comprehensive, will engage at the community level, and is farsighted. We're going to be doing things like fixing locks, fixing lights, changes that will go a long way towards letting NYCHA residents know that they're being looked after. We're going to be keeping community centers open later to give people, especially young people, a place to go who may not have one. We're going to help find jobs for young people. We're going to be focusing on domestic violence prevention, and we're going to be directly engaging with communities at the grassroots level. These are real, tangible steps that are going to do a lot of good for many New Yorkers. And this is not a short-term promise from the city, but a commitment for the long haul. And I also really do want to thank my colleagues, particularly those that are here. We have Vanessa Gibson, Richie Torres, who heads the Public Housing Committee, our Public Safety Committee Chair, Vanessa, and I know Jamani, who's been very vocal on these issues. So it's really been an exciting day. On a personal note, I'm proud to represent the council district with the most public housing in the city of New York. Well over 20,000 units of public housing are in my district, well above 10% of the total amount. NYCHA housing is the cornerstone of our affordable housing program in New York City, and all families deserve to live in a safe and nurturing environment. So I look forward to working with Mayor de Blasio and the rest of the administration as we keep fighting on behalf of NYCHA residents. This has been a personal commitment of mine since the day I walked in through the door, serving as a council member, that we need to do all we can to really improve the lives of all of our NYCHA residents. And some of the leaders you've heard from here today, or know that are here today, are really important in that struggle. Hoy es un gran día para los inquilinos de la vivienda pública porque estamos tomando medidas que mejorarán la seguridad pública para miles de familias. El plan que ha presentado nuestro alcalde es comprensivo y refleja las voces y preocupaciones de los inquilinos en la vivienda pública. Las prioridades incluyen arreglar las luces y las entradas de los edificios para proteger las familias que viven en NYCHA. Los centros comunitarios de NYCHA estarán abiertos los fines de semana y las noches, tarde por las noches, para ofrecer un lugar seguro a los jóvenes. Y vamos a proveer oportunidades de empleo este verano para más jóvenes que viven en NYCHA. Estos son pasos importantes y reflejan el compromiso de esta administración a la seguridad y bienestar de nuestras comunidades. Así que muchas gracias, alcalde. Thank you.
Wagner loves you. We have a news flash. Wagner loves you. Breaking news.
Wagner.
All right. There's love all around. So in many, many years of working shoulder to shoulder with Tish James in the City Council and beyond, I can tell you that literally, rarely a conversation ensued without Tish talking about the needs of public housing residents. She is doing that ever more forcefully as our public advocate, and she is particularly focused on the safety of NYCHA residents. In her council district, she represented one of the biggest concentrations of public housing anywhere in the country, in fact. So she's a real expert on this, and she's been a great partner and ally. Welcome our public advocate, Tish James.
Thank you, Mayor Bill de Blasio. Thank you, President Harris. Thank you to my colleagues who are here and to all who have assembled. Over the past month, I've been meeting with NYCHA residents across the city, visiting them in their developments. And they have expressed to me their concern about the loss of activities for young residents, the closing of community centers. They have expressed to me their overall concern about public safety, and about the fact that a lot of community centers do not have air conditioning. And so I want to thank the mayor for selecting this wonderful development which has AC, because a lot of them don't. But what they have said consistently is that New York City must remain vigilant in fighting crime. And thankfully, Mayor de Blasio and his administration are rolling out a new plan to identify areas where crime is occurring, utilizing police resources to reduce crime, and most importantly, identifying new methods to prevent crime. In my conversations with residents, again, across the city, they tell one of the most persistent crimes in public housing is domestic violence. With a dedicated domestic violence outreach and civilian teams that will make follow-up visits, we can successfully reduce domestic violence in NYCHA and reduce the shame in reporting that you are victims of domestic violence, and to say to all residents in the city of New York that love should never, ever hurt. We must also look at the infrastructure of public housing and map and track where crimes are actually occurring. Using technology is a welcome addition, but a dedicated police force, as we once had with housing police, adds a sense of comfort and a sense of security. By fixing building doors and changing keys and increasing lighting, both in and around the perimeters, but also in the hallways, all around complexes, we can change the conditions on the ground. You see, criminals are less likely to gain entry to a building if the door is working properly. And they are less likely to commit a crime if the area has the appropriate lighting, because most criminals do not want to engage in wrongdoing in the light. And so we've got to bring them out to the light and stop them. We can build strong neighborhoods if we expand youth employment opportunities and put our young people to work, and increase hours at community centers so that individuals are engaging in constructive activities until the hour of 11 o'clock. Under this new plan, our hours will be extended at community centers, and they will stay open to 11 p.m. And community centers, I want everyone to know, is not a place for just activity. It's a place where we can increase literacy rates, a place where we can assist them in homework and academics, introduce them to books and to the world beyond, and introduce them to leaders outside of their own community. That's what community centers do. These extra hours will go a long way in developing their young minds. And with 800 youth jobs that will give children an opportunity to make money and have structure over the summer, this is a welcome addition. We will have accountability with satisfaction surveys distributed to residents. And we can make informed decisions on where to focus our resources and determine what is working and what is not. There's also room for working with local community-based organizations, individuals who have interrupted crime, and I see some of them here in the audience today, individuals who will work hand in hand with the police to identify individuals who might be engaging in gang violence. And I want to thank all of those local community-based organizations, those crime interrupters who are here today and who have been the leaders throughout the city of New York. These are organizations that know the conditions on the ground, friendly faces that are known in the community who will intervene before a problem starts. I want to thank Mayor Bill de Blasio. I believe that working collaboratively with him, as well as with residents and not-for-profits and police and elected officials, we can address the needs of public housing residents and let them know that they are never alone, and that this government, the government of Mayor Bill de Blasio and others, we stand with you now and always. Thank you.
So the experience that Shola Olatoye has had as chair of NYCHA over these last months, and Cecil has had as general manager, has been one of me calling constantly and saying, what can we do more, what can we do faster, what can we do better? But it's also been one of two leaders who have stepped up every single time and have had the rationale for why these investments would make a huge difference. The investments we made in repairs have paid off. We've seen many, many more repairs made, particularly on the health and safety issues. So the investments we're going to make on public safety are going to start to pay off literally this week. But it takes leaders who are committed to making things happen now to turn those ideas into action, and we have them. And these two leaders, I'd like to welcome the chair of the Housing Authority, Shola Olataye.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, everyone, for being here today. I must start first by saying that I think the entire city is tremendously saddened by the loss of the death of firefighter Lieutenant Gordon Embellis. And we should all keep his family and the FDNY in our prayers and thoughts as we as we acknowledge his heroic sacrifice to our city. So please take a moment and remember that. But in the midst of this tragedy, we also are recommitting ourselves to work together to address the problems before us. I have to thank so many people here, and I will beg your patience. The mayor has charged all of us to work differently, and I think the folks who are here today represent that shift and change in governance in New York City under the leadership of our mayor, Mayor Bill de Blasio, our speaker, Melissa Mark Vivarito, our chairman, council member Richie Torres, our chairwoman, Miss Gibson, and a group of people that I've spent a ton of time speaking with, in addition to all the elected officials that are here today, our resident leaders, Ms. Katie Harris, Mr. Johnson from the Bronx, and many other folks who have not only been a key part of our and my learning agenda over these past 100 days or so, but are really a crucial part of the three-part focus that we're here to talk about today: people, place, and process. So I want to thank all of you for your leadership, your support, and all of the 10 city agencies who literally have been working on this plan over the holiday weekend every night for the last several days. So I want to thank you for your support and leadership. And I must thank my team at NYCHA. I have 11,215 of them. So I need to thank them, namely my general manager, Mr. Cecil House, my entire executive team, and certainly the staff of the Wagner houses today who have so lovingly pulled all of this together in very short notice. We want to thank all of them. So there's a lot of talk about community in this new administration, and we're turning that talk into action to the tune of $210 million with the investment by this mayor and this city council, and I'm so thrilled to be a part of it. It's a great day for NYCHA, but it's a great day for New York City. NYCHA is more than just a collection of buildings or a particular development. We're not just Boulevard houses or Wagner or the Polo Grounds. We are 178,000 homes. That's 400,000 people's apartments. We are over more than 400 community and social centers that make up communities in almost every neighborhood in this city. We are not islands. We are part of New York City, and this investment today and the presence of all of you is further confirmation to that fact. That's why this is such a comprehensive initiative, which supports the many pieces involved with preventing and reducing violence. This is about creating safer neighborhoods for all of New York. It's a smart plan. It's an aggressive plan that focuses on making life safer for New York families for the long term, and keeps us talking with residents and other stakeholders about how to do so. So first, at NYCHA, we've already started this essential work to improve residents' quality of life. We're investing more than $27 million to accelerate security system installation, including CCTV cameras, at more than 49 developments citywide by the end of this year. Work has already begun at 14 of those developments, and the remaining to begin shortly. We're spending more than $160 million in 2014 to complete construction work that will enable us to remove those sidewalk sheds that the mayor is so focused on, as he should be. Obsessed, one might say. These funds allow us to do even more. The funds that we're talking about today will allow us to start work literally on Monday in a two-part lighting initiative. As the mayor said, there's a short-term piece here and there's a long-term piece here. We are going to roll out more than 150 light towers throughout these 15 targeted developments. And then we'll begin a design process that will literally allow us to bring light into NYCHA, more than thousands of lights in the exterior perimeter of these 15 developments, pathways, public areas, doors, and playgrounds. We will also, as many have mentioned, more than 107 of our centers that are focused on youth programming, ages 5 to 17, will be open until 11 p.m. and are more than just a place to go hang out, but as the public advocate said, a place to really dream and think about what's possible. So these are just some of the initiatives that we're highlighting today. Again, people. We're focused on ensuring that people are safe, and my colleague and partner, and I guess I can't say crime, but partner, and fighting crime, we'll talk about the significant investment that the mayor and the police commissioner and Chief Gomez are making in terms of the NYPD. We're talking about resident engagement with additional community engagement sessions around the vision for what is a safe, connected, and clean NYCHA. We're talking about the physical improvement by bringing lighting both immediately and then long-term, and the construction that allows us to deal with the sidewalk sheds. And then we're talking about process. Liz Glazer is holding all of us accountable to ensure that we have some real goals and metrics to ensure that this public investment is one that keeps our residents, our neighborhoods safe. So this initiative involves so many people. I thanked many of you, and I look forward to working with all of you to ensure that NYCHA's around for another generation. We are a crucial part of this city, and with the mayor and the council's support, we will remain so. So thank you.
So we obviously want to focus on all of the pieces of the public safety equation. And the lighting and all the other improvements that we're making, the youth programs go a long way. But first and foremost, of course, is always cops on the beat. You're going to hear from Chief Gomez, and I want to thank him because throughout these months he has been responsive and quick to make adjustments and to respond to the needs of residents. And I've heard a lot of compliments, Chief, for you and your team for the way you've supported residents of public housing. Typically, as Chief will go over the numbers, typically he has 2,000 or fewer officers citywide. Because of all the moves that have been made in recent weeks, including the actions through the budget process, the decisions made to move personnel around areas of need in the city, and of course the graduating class from the academy, what is normally a force of 2,000 or less has now had 700 additional officers added. That's a 33% increase in the strength of officers for public housing, and that's going to make a huge difference. Would like to welcome the man who's leading the charge to make all of NYCHA development safer and is going to particularly focus on these 15, Chief Gomez.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome. Good afternoon to everyone. Before I go into specifics about the police department's part in this great plan, I think I should mention the 15 developments that we chose for your information, and we work closely with the mayor's office in choosing these developments. Factors we considered were the crime rates, especially violent crime, and as the mayor stated earlier, these 15 developments account for nearly 20% of the violent crime in all of our developments, and we have 334 of them. So let me read them off to you, and then I'll go into specifics as to the police department's plan. We have the Red Hook houses in PSA 1, the Queensbridge houses in Queens and PSA 9, the Castle Hill houses in my former working borough down in the Bronx, and good to see some of my friends here. The Tompkins houses in PSA 3 in Brooklyn, the Bushwick houses in PSA 3 in Brooklyn. Right here, the Wagner houses in PSA 5. The Van Dyke houses in PSA 2 in Brooklyn. The Ingersoll houses, PSA 3, Brooklyn. The Patterson houses in PSA 7 in the Mount Haven section of the Bronx. The Polo Grounds and the St. Nicholas houses here in PSA 6 and Manhattan North. The Brownsville houses in PSA 2 and Brooklyn. The Boulevard houses, which suffered the terrible tragedy just last month with the 2 children. And Staten Island, we went to Staten Island, the Stapleton houses, and back to PSA 7 in the Bronx with the Butler houses. So those are the 15 developments that we are mainly going to focus on. But the plan allows for flexibility. Certainly, if we see conditions change or crime spikes in other developments, we will we will certainly attend to them. As I said, we have 334 developments, but for the most part, these 15 developments are going to get most of our attention for this plan. A key component in fighting crime is having enough resources to do so. The mayor's plan that we are announcing here this afternoon certainly accomplishes that plan, in that it adds over 700 police officers to my existing strength. The addition of these officers, as the mayor previously stated, increases my staffing by over a third. From approximately 2,000 officers to the equivalent of 2,700 police officers. I thank the mayor personally. It's unprecedented amount of resources sent to the Housing Bureau, and certainly the 400,000 residents of housing also thank you, Mr. Mayor. This increased staffing is being accomplished in several ways. It's really 4 ways, and I'd like to give you details on each of them. The first way is through the Police Department's civilianization plan for fiscal year 2015, which just commenced on July 1st. This plan is basically, we want to hire 200 civilians to replace 200 police officers that are doing desk duties throughout the department. As these hires are conducted throughout fiscal year 15, these officers, identified officers, will then be transferred to the Housing Bureau until we achieve 200 net officers in an increase. This takes months. We have to hire the civilians. We have to train them. Until that is accomplished, the equivalent of 200 officers per week is being funded with overtime. These 200 officers will be assigned throughout my 9 PSAs, which are police service areas, similar to patrol precincts. They will be mostly assigned to these 15 developments that I had just mentioned. They'll provide a greater visibility. The residents are really going to see more officers out there. There'll be more omnipresence. They'll be patrolling the public areas of our developments, as well as conducting interior patrols. It's going to greatly increase the omnipresence and the sense of security for our residents. In addition, something that is new, that we're doing new, is they'll be doing wellness visits to our residents. And a wellness visit is we'll be visiting recent crime victims, someone who was a recent victim of a crime involving fraud or a scam, an elderly victim, someone who had an accident. We're going to knock on the door and see how they're doing. We believe this will promote and foster good relationships with the residents that we serve. We'll also be doing DV visits. Domestic violence has driven our crime in the past. We'll be visiting those victims to make sure they are safe, they've received the proper services, the proper referrals, and hopefully we could prevent future crime from occurring. And this already started on July 1st. We already had 200 officers on last week assigned, and we had positive results, and I'll go into some stats later on. A second way in which we receive an additional officers into the Housing Bureau is the Summer All-Out Initiative, which was announced yesterday or the day before by the police commissioner. Basically, 313 officers were identified as throughout the department, and they had desk jobs. They had inside positions. For a 90-day period of time, 300 officers were transferred to 10 patrol precincts and 5 of my police service areas. I received 96 of those officers in the Housing Bureau. These officers went to 5 of my PSAs. PSAs 1, 2, and 3, which are in Brooklyn, and PSAs 7 and 8, which are in the Bronx. And we chose these 2 boroughs because 75% of our violence, our gun violence, emanates from these 2 boroughs. These officers will be doing evening tours. They'll be providing high visibility deployment around the developments, especially the 15 developments, if they fall within the PSAs that they were assigned to. And they came at a really great time, the beginning of the summer. This started this week. A third way in which we received additional officers in the Housing Bureau is by the graduation of the 600 recruits last Monday, June 30th, I believe. Out of those 600 and change, the Housing Bureau received 101 of these officers. That's the most that have been assigned to housing in recent years. These officers will be assigned to 2 of our 4 impact zones. They'll be assigned to impact zone in PSA 5, which is right here where we sit, not too far away in the Taft, Johnson, Jefferson, and King developments. And the other officers will be assigned to PSA 7 in the Bronx. What's different this year is that these officers will have more supervisors assigned to guide them through the early stages in their career. We've identified mentor officers to also guide them and help them in the early months of their career. And what's really different is that we're working together with the community. Community is our partners, with the Partner Officer Program. Members of the clergy and local residents will be walking alongside these officers, introducing them to other members of the community, keeping them informed and apprised of any crime issues or other concerns that warrant our attention. Lastly, we started an initiative back on May the 12th, which gives us the equivalent of 320 police officers per week. We're utilizing impact overtime to fund this initiative. These officers went to Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Queens. Every borough was represented in the deployment. They patrolled such areas as East New York, Brownsville, Williamsburg, Soundview, Mott Haven, and the North Bronx. Since this initiative commenced, crime in housing has trended in the right direction. As you sit here today and as I stand here, overall crime, overall felony index crime in the Housing Bureau is down 2.1%. This is the first time since 2009 that crime has been down in housing. We have a decrease in 8% in murders. Our robberies show a decrease. Our grand larcenies show a decrease. Our grand larceny autos show a decrease. Shootings are up this year in housing, but with the addition of these officers, as well as the work of the other agencies in this plan, we're looking to stem, abate that, keep them under control, and certainly we look to reduce them. Working together with NYCHA and the other agencies, we're confident we can reduce crime in the near future and also for the long term. We're also providing coverage at these community centers, the 107 community centers with expanded hours. We're going to have officers posted there until closing time to ensure a safe environment, a sense of comfort to the, thank you, to those residents that take advantage of these extended hours. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take questions on topic first, then off topic. Let me just give you one more fact. These community centers where the youth programs are, the 107 sites, again, will be open till at least 11 p.m., weeknights and weekends, at least 11 p.m. This will be the first time in 30 years that these centers will be open till 11 p.m. for our young people. First time in 30 years. With that, on topic. Wait. Okay, yes.
Has the NYPD ever done this before, checked in on residents, wellness visits, that kind of thing with civilization?
Really not as part of a crime initiative. You know, certainly we have community affairs officers that do that, but these are every officer in the Housing Bureau assigned to this initiative will be doing such visits. And again, I think it will promote and foster good relationships. We're not out there just to arrest people and issue summonses. We're there to offer help, assistance, and we'll see how you're doing, and we could help you further.
How are they being trained for this?
Well, we the PSA commanders on a daily basis give the officers a sheet detailing recent crime victims, where they live, and we send officers there. You know, the training is kind of common sense. Let me
jump in and add. You know, the whole approach, as Chief Gomez mentioned, the whole approach at the academy has changed for this graduating class. So there's a much greater focus on working with community members, gaining, a trustful, positive relationship, which, by the way, not only is about making sure that victims of crime are okay and that we're there to support them, it's also about gathering additional information on where there may be problems or where there may be individuals that we need to act on. So the whole training course in the academy was based on developing partnerships that will yield intelligence gathering for the NYPD and will help them to do their jobs better. And then, in addition, when they get to the precinct, then they get additional orientation because of this mentor program Chief Gomez mentioned. In the past, the cops coming out of the academy were put into high-need precincts with limited support and mentorship. This is something Commissioner Bratton has been adamant about, and Deputy Commissioner Tucker, who runs the academy, that we have to provide a lot more leadership and mentorship. We have to make sure that these individuals are assigned, these new cops are assigned with veteran cops and with additional officers, so they really get the right introduction on how to work with the community and be effective. So all that's gone into it. Did you?
This will have an impact on citywide crime.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at, and our chief can contextualize it, but when you look at the fact that these developments, 15 developments, account for about 20% of the crime in all of public housing, and that we know that some of the focal point areas around the city where we have had a challenge with shootings has been the areas where there's high concentrations of public housing. There's no question in my mind this is going to have a very big impact very quickly. Do you want to add to NYCHA in the context of overall crime in the city?
Absolutely. This will help, the surrounding communities. Historically, the Housing Bureau has accounted for 20% of the shooting incidents in the city. So if we control those and reduce them, it will have a positive effect in the surrounding communities.
Yes, in the back.
Mayor Blasio, because police are such an integral part of this public safety puzzle, and now that police are, sort of pulling back on their ability to use stop and frisk, how big of an impact do you think that pullback has played on this increase of gun violence, not just in NYCHA, but everywhere?
I've spoken this before, as has Commissioner Bratton. I don't think this has had an impact. We, of course, continue where appropriate and constitutional to employ stop and frisk as a policing tactic. That's always been the case. It's being used a lot less than in the past because in the past, as we know, almost 90% of those stopped were not guilty of anything. Now, stop and frisk is being used much more judiciously, and we see a much higher arrest rate connected to the stops, which means that the stops are actually happening more and more with the bad guys, exactly the way they should be. But what will make a big difference going forward is the amount of personnel we're applying to the areas of greatest need, the different approach to training, the time and energy that's been freed up that is not now going into bad and unproductive stops, but is going into real policing. If you look at the numbers overall, I know Commissioner Bratton went into great detail yesterday. Thank God crime is down overall almost 3%. Thank God murders are down compared to last year, and last year was a record year. We have a challenge with some shootings, but as you saw from the Commissioner's statistics yesterday, when you put that in context, this is still year-to-date one of the lowest years for shootings we've ever had. And you're already seeing, as Chief Gomez indicated, in the areas where the additional officers have been applied, the shooting numbers are starting to go down. So the real issue here is to apply our resources where the problems are greatest and to apply them in a strategically effective manner with what we think is a better strategy and a better kind of training, and we think that's going to really pay off.
Mayor, in speaking with NYCHA residents, what do you see as the legacy of Stop and Frisk?
Look, I've spoken to a lot of NYCHA residents and citizens all over the city for years on this topic. I think for a long time it created a division and a separation between police and community. And it made it harder for police to do their job, and it made it harder for communities to work with police the way both sides wanted to. It was a broken policy. And now what I hear universally, okay, I've been in office now over 6 months. I have talked to countless elected officials, community leaders, clergy. I cannot tell you how many compliments I've gotten for the NYPD and the approach that's being taken. After the tragic loss of P.J. Avito, community leaders in the Boulevard houses said to me very consistently that they were so appreciative to the way the police came to their aid. They thought it was a respectful and incredibly compassionate approach the police took. And what I think we're seeing more and more is community residents want to work with police, want to provide information to the police, which is crucial. You know, I always say intelligence gathering is how you stop crime. It's something we've learned over and over again. If the police have the best available information, they're going to be able to stop crime. More and more residents in the city want to help the police to do that. So I think the legacy was one of there being a division and a pain, obviously in particular for parents and grandparents of young men of color who saw them singled out, even when so many of them were good kids, law-abiding kids, kids who we were trying to get on the right path. Now that that has changed, I think the atmosphere is a much more productive and positive one. Dave?
Mayor, just to clarify, if we can, to see what is new today, because some of these things, like the 200 officers transferred from desk duty, some of the repairs, we've heard about those weeks ago.
Yep.
So what is new today? Is it the $87 million, and that will go for things like the lighting, the scaffolding, keeping community centers open?
So you heard first about the repair money. That was in the previous budget and in this budget. Then you heard about the reallocation of officers, the civilianization efforts, the efforts coming out of the academy. What's new today is the lighting effort, 150 light towers that will go in starting this week. So you're going to have in these Target 15 developments a much safer, much better lit environment, and then they're going to phase in permanent lighting throughout those developments over the coming months. You're going to see this consistent effort to remove the sidewalk sheds, the scaffolding that have plagued so many developments. I want to give Cecil House a lot of credit for focusing on this, meaning these sheds, if you go around a lot of developments, you see them. They were, unfortunately, safe havens for criminals. They were places that people could lurk. Community residents have told me over and over again, it made them very uncomfortable that there were these areas that were obscured. Those are coming down all over the housing authority. That's going to make for a safer environment. You're certainly going to see a lot of other actions in terms of the physical plant becoming safer, and the youth programs. This is a new and very, very important piece. The number now, we were able to add to the number even compared to when we announced the budget agreement a few weeks back. We are now at the point of having 107 community centers, again, open till at least 11 o'clock for the first time in 30 years. That's going to make a huge difference in the lives of these kids.
Is there any specific anti-gang component to this, or how you are going to deal with the gang?
I think I'm going to turn to the chief, but I will start by saying I think all of this is anti-gang. I think the presence of the officers obviously inhibits gang activity. I think giving young people positive alternatives to help pull them away from the gangs is crucial. You know, all of these pieces, you know, making a better lit environment so gang members aren't in a position to do some of the things they might have otherwise. It's all about helping to reclaim safety for the developments, and gangs are obviously a central challenge. Chief, why don't you add in?
Absolutely. Gang and crew violence, gun violence, they account for almost 50% of my shootings this year. We'll be out there providing visibility, omnipresence to prevent those shootings, but we also have Operation Crew Cut, which much has been written about. And just last month, there was a gang crew takedown not too far here, uptown in the Grant and Manhattanville houses, in which 103 gang and crew members who were responsible for 27 shootings and 2 murders were taken off the street. So far this year, we've also had crew takedowns in the Morris houses in the Bronx, in the Patterson houses in the Bronx, and the Forest houses in the Bronx. So that's a tool that we have, and we'll continue to utilize it.
Okay, who hasn't gone yet? I think, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, as this the public advocate noted, a lot of houses have been, community centers have been closed over the years. Whether you're going to expand the time, the ones that are around, or is there any plan in the future to create more of these?
Well, you know, with the help of the City Council, we were able to keep these open and then to add the additional hours for the youth program. So this is a big part of our strategy. I think, you know, we've got a lot of them, thank God, and this 107 is going to make a big impact. We also have a whole separate series of actions being taken by the Parks Department to add additional programming for young people in parks nearby these targeted 15 developments. So we're going to start with that and see what the impact is, and then we'll make judgments from there.
Mayor, with the community centers being open until 11 o'clock and the youth programs, will those be city, or will there also be private organizations and private programs involved in that?
Well, the city, of course, is providing the resources, but with the Department of Youth and Community Development, our Commissioner Bill Chong, we're working with nonprofits and community groups all over the city. So we work with community leaders and community-based nonprofits that know how to serve well in that community, know how to work with kids in the community effectively. So they'll be the folks running a lot of the programs. And as Chief Gomez said, there will be a police presence also at each one of these sites.
When you talk about the lighting, of course, whether they're criminals or just having fun, the kids like to go around and break the lighting or burn the lights in NYCHA developments. How will you deal with that? If you put up a bunch of lights, I'm quite sure the kids will go around some of them and break them.
I'll bring up the chief, but I think the fact is the notion that some people may do the wrong thing, therefore we're not going to do the right thing, that doesn't make sense to me. We need lighting. Residents deserve lighting. They deserve to be safe. We're going to assert that this is the way things are going to be. So the lighting will go up. The police presence will help keep it intact and strong. If there's any problems, we're going to replace it.
That's a good question, Dean. As the mayor said, again, more presence will hopefully deter that. But I'd like to add then in many of our developments, we have cameras. Like this development has Viper cameras, but other developments have CCTV systems in place. And we've captured what you just described in these cameras in many instances that I'm aware of. And we've identified those responsible for doing the mischief, whether it be graffiti or break-in lights, and we'll arrest them if they do so.
Mr. Mayor, can you just clarify where some of this funding is coming from? Is this stuff that was already in the budget? I know $122 million for relieving NYCHA of other obligations. I thought that
was over last year's budget and this year's, right? But obviously, all of it happened in the last 6 months. And then the additional $87 million coming out of this budget process, some pieces that were administration priorities, some pieces that were city council priorities, some pieces that were shared. But that is the total impact of these pieces combined.
And are you saying that all 200 of the officers to come out of the civilianization process, will they all be going to NYCHA, or will some of them be going to other precincts?
Yeah, housing.
So they'll all be going to housing?
Yes, yes.
Chief Gomez had mentioned the takedown of the Grant houses, which, as you know, was criticized. The way some of the arrests happened, some of the doors were broken down. I know that you want to work with crime victims on wellness visits, but do you think some of these takedowns could be conducted differently? That's the response of a lot of the residents of the Grant houses and other.
Look, I don't know all the details, I'll be honest, of what happened, but I can tell you what I do know. I've talked to a lot of community leaders, both in that area and beyond, who were very, very appreciative that 100+ wrongdoers were taken off the street. So this is a difficult thing to do. Remember how these things work. You know, you're going to arrest 100+ people simultaneously, early morning hours. It's a pretty complicated operation. They have to keep mission secrecy is a crucial concern for NYPD. From everything I've seen and heard, I think it was handled well, and the result is extraordinary. Can we, try and always listen carefully for ways we can do better? Of course. And I think Commissioner Bratton and Chief Gomez, it's been quintessential to who they are. They're constantly trying to improve the work they do. But the result in that case was absolutely extraordinary, and I think it was very gratifying to residents. Back corner, yes, sir.
The neglect, red tape, and broken promises are well documented when it comes to NYCHA. When it comes to some of these long-term commitments, what kind of assurances can you offer to these residents?
Well, you're right that there's an unfortunate history. Again, we have to be very clear that it begins with Washington over 20 or 30 years, abandoning a lot of its commitment to public housing and affordable housing. But that doesn't allow us to turn away. We have to focus. We have to make this a priority. And I think we're doing this in a very public and consistent fashion, which means accepting responsibility. I for one, do not want to run away from the obligation. I want to embrace the obligation. I know all my colleagues feel the same way. So we've been handed a situation that isn't what should have been. But we owe it to the residents to fix it, and with every tool we have to make it better, and we're going to do it. It's as simple as that. And I think when you make a statement as clearly as we're making it today, we have to follow through. All right, off topic? Off topic. Grace.
Mayor, can you give us an update on where things stand regarding the plan to ban carriage horses in Central Park?
Yeah, we obviously have just finished a very intense session with the City Council in terms of the budget process, a very intense series of actions at the state legislature, and we're thrilled with the results we got at the state level, first in the budget process and then in the remainder of the legislative session. We started our affordable housing plan. There's so many other pieces that have been high priority and have moved aggressively. Now we're going to turn to a series of other priorities. And certainly, I've said many times, I'll say it again, I think we need to ban horse carriages in New York City, and we're going to act accordingly. We're going to work with our City Council partners. There will be, obviously, a legislative process and hearings and a public process. But it's something I believe we have to do.
Are you going to be introducing a bill?
We're working on the details now with the City Council, but clearly there's going to be a legislative process. Yes?
There was a story today about the City Hall scheduler scheduling a visit for your son to look at Columbia. I was wondering if that person scheduled any other visits for Dante.
I saw the article, and I just want to clarify. When you're mayor of New York City, there's a set of protocols in place. This has been true for other mayors as well that revolve around security and logistics. And it's just not appropriate for me as an individual to start scheduling things and doing things ad hoc. Everything goes through the scheduling office. They coordinate with NYPD. NYPD coordinates with security in each location, for example, in that case with the Columbia campus security. So this stuff is not done the way I would have done it a few years ago. Everything starts with the assumption that it has to be a very consistent, careful process, and security has to come first. So, what I do is describe what we're trying to achieve, and then the professionals take over. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit your thoughts on the drone that had the near miss with the NYPD helicopter?
I actually did not know the details of that, so let me get the details of that, and then I'll respond. Yes.
The story about Uber lowballing yellow cabs and, they can't change their rates. What do you think about this? Is it unfair what they're doing?
Yeah, again, this is an area I don't know all the details of the specific action they've taken. Obviously, you saw what our chair of the TLC said, and I think she's got the right perspective. The first question is everything being done legally and appropriately? But I think there's more work that will be done by the TLC in the months ahead, trying to make sense of how to approach the Uber issue in a way that's fair to all concerned. So right now, we're governed by law. I think there's more policy making ahead.
about your pledge in your State of the City to, through an executive order, expand the living wage law. I was wondering if you can give us an update on where you are on that.
Sure. You'll see additional steps shortly. What we've done so far, obviously, we ended the city's legal action related to living wage law and prevailing wage. So those are two areas where we disagreed with the previous administration. We pulled back on that, so those efforts that have been taken by the City Council could move forward. We moved in specific instances like Hudson Yards to achieve additional living wage commitments. Obviously, on other related fronts, we moved the paid sick leave bill. You know, we are acting aggressively, as everyone knows, to try and create a situation at the state level where we can move a minimum wage bill with a local option. All of these pieces go together. There's going to be additional steps taken in the coming weeks on the living wage issue, including pieces that we can take on an executive level. So we'll have more to say on that shortly.
Kind of off topic, but gun crimes in East New York have gone up 30%. I don't see a single East New York housing project on this list of 15. Why is that? What was the mode of selection for those?
Let the chief come up, but I'll just preface by saying, again, there's a couple of different moving parts here. You've previously heard from me and from Commissioner Bratton about some of the efforts we're doing to move resources where they're needed. Some of that is separate from the Housing Authority. Obviously, as we said, with the graduating class, 600 plus, I think it's 609 graduates, 101 going to housing. The additional 500 are going explicitly to high-need areas, whether they be housing or not, East New York being one of the obvious examples. So I think there's different types of reinforcement being done, but let the chief speak to what we can get back to on that.
Well, we are covering a development in East New York. That's the Boulevard houses. But also in East New York, you have the Pink and the Cypress houses in Florentino, and PSA 2 covers those developments. And they have specific resources, specific offices that solely patrol Pink and Cypress. So again, we have 334 developments. We, we visit, us and Patrol Services Bureau, we visit all of them. Also very close by is the Brownsville, our impact zone, where we have Brownsville, Sethlow, Van Dyke, and we have over 90 police officers assigned there. It's just a few blocks away.
Okay, anyone who has not gone yet? Okay, we got two. We'll do two more. One.
So just a quick follow-up on that. A number of the housing developments that you pointed to out of the 15, not all of them are, crime has gone down in a number of them year to date compared to 2013. I'm just wondering, when you chose these housing developments, was it just volume, or were there other factors?
And we looked at the 3-year dynamic, and so in some cases we saw, maybe it's a little bit better now, but the 3-year trend was clear enough that we wanted to prioritize. We obviously, in other cases, may have had a better 3-year trend, but saw an uptick recently that concerned us. So a lot of different calculation went into it with NYPD. But we think that overall number speaks volumes, that these 15 developments combined are almost 20% of all violent crime in NYCHA. And as Chief Gomez said, if we find in the process of this that some situations are getting better in certain developments, enough that we can make some movements, or we see focal areas, we won't hesitate to make some moves to reinforce.
There was a mention of improved security mechanisms with doors and access to the lobby areas in NYCHA project. Can you describe how security in the entrance to the buildings?
I'm just going to start very broadly, and the Chief and Chair Olatoye can jump in. What we're trying to do with safety takes a lot of different forms. The presence of the police officers, the lighting, the cameras, and obviously locks and safety systems. And then separate but crucial, all of the pieces that reach young people and community residents. So all these different pieces are moving at once. Resource-wise, we're trying to focus on where we think we can have the greatest impact right away. For that reason, you've seen cops moved into place already. You're going to see more literally this week. You saw more last week. I mean, there's a whole ongoing effort to move cops into place rapidly. Lighting will be in place starting this week. Youth programs started yesterday. So whereas the locks and security systems, some of that takes longer to implement, the pieces that we focused on first were the ones we could get up and running immediately. Either one of you want?
So when NYCHA considers security enhancements, there are a couple of key components. One is the ability to actually connect with the NYPD. So that's actually creating like a nerve center within the development that allows us to run wire to the local precinct. 2 is layered access, which is sort of the key fob entrance. 3 is our doors. There are a series of very heavy doors that prevent people from popping doors. And then 4th are the cameras. And really, what is tremendous about the mayor's previous and the council's previous investment, that allows us to do those kinds of enhancements. What we're talking about today in terms of what's new is the lighting and the physical piece to support that. So that is a comprehensive security approach, and certainly adding lighting to these particular developments only augments that. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Amen.